What is going on, YouTube people? Neo Cards and Comics here today to talk about the wins. Last week, we talked about the biggest losses that I had on the year, mostly centered around two different Baker Mayfield cards. Today, we're going to discuss the wins. I had one really good one, like one really strong one, and then two pretty good ones that kind of top the list. So we'll get into them in a second. I'll give you guys and girls, if you want to take a stab at what you think my best flip play or whatever you want to call it, most profitable move, whatever it is, you can take a guess in the comments below. The key thing to this is only counting things that I actually sold this year. So if I bought something and on paper it is way up, which quite frankly is anything, that does not count. I had to sell the card in 2022 for it to make this list. One of them is from very early in 2022. One of them is from like Q1, Q2, right on the line, and it's a Marvel card actually. And then another one was over the summer. So let's go ahead and dive into card number one. Oh, and real quickly before I do, what was your best flip this year? Now, you didn't have to purchase it this year, but just something that you sold this year that you took a nice profit on. Well, maybe you bought it a long time ago. Maybe it was raw to grade. One of these examples is a raw to grade. Whatever the case might be, let me know in the comments down below. It was interesting seeing everybody's losses. So without further ado, let's jump in and talk about card number one. First up, my Jose Ramirez Topps Dynasty Wahoo patch. This popped up on eBay. I have my eBay safe searches, and one of them is for just all Topps Dynasty autos. And I get up at like 5 o'clock, 5:30 in the morning for work most mornings. And one of the first things that I do is check my safe searches. And this got posted overnight. It got listed at $4.99, best offer, buy it now. And I was obviously immediately taken with the patch. I'm like, this card looks fantastic. Wahoo patches are highly desirable. And I thought about it for a second, and I submitted an offer of like $400. And it was one of those situations where like 5 minutes later, I was sitting there going, if you get notification that this card sold at $4.99, you're going to be kicking yourself and you're going to be pissed. I know I'm not the only one that's ever done this. I'm sure you all have a story about a time that a card got priced or posted and you got cute and submitted an offer, and like an hour later, it just sold. It happens to me more often than not. And I said, hey, dummy, if you get the notification that this listing ended at $500, you're going to hate yourself. So I was like, screw it. And I just went and binned it. Got it in hand, had it for a while. Lots of interest in it locally. Everyone loved this card. And a friend of mine had a different version of this same card. He had it was the same out of 5. It was the opposite eye. I had tried to get it at the Midwest Monster and failed. Came close, offered very strong on it, and he even said it was the strongest offer that he had on it. He had it listed on eBay at like $2,000 or something crazy. He gets an offer of $1,200 and accepts it. So I see that sale, and I said, well, maybe the person that bought that wants the opposite eye. Because I said, for $1,200, I like the card. I don't know that I like it that much. And honestly, the fact that that opposite eye kind of left my sphere, got out of my, out of my hands, out of reach, slightly diminished my appeal for this card. I still really liked it. Don't get me wrong. It's an awesome card. So I threw it up on eBay for like $2,500 or something stupid. It sat for multiple weeks, and then I got an offer of $1,200 for it. Different buyer. It was not the same person, because I did check with the person that sold the other one. Accepted it and sold it. So I bought it for $500. I think I held it for maybe 2 or 3 months and sold it for $1,200, also on eBay. So I probably netted out about $500. So that was about a $500 profit on that card after fees and shipping and all that jazz. Maybe a little bit more. I don't remember the exact amount, but basically doubled up on it from the initial sale in a very short period of time, just a couple months. And once again, when you see cool, unique cards, just grab them. Like something like this, you kind of get to set your own price. The comps almost don't matter. It's not a Silver Prism PSA 10 that they transact every single day. Sometimes that could be a blessing. Sometimes it could be a curse on the, hey, I don't sell very often. But the amount of interest that I had in this card was off the charts because one, it's a Wahoo patch, local to Cleveland, but just an absolutely insanely unique card. The next one on the list is a little bit more clean cut. It's very simple, cut and dry. Juan Soto PSA 1010 was a 10 card grade, 10 auto grade, Bowman's Best autograph. I traded for this at the Shipshewana show in the fall of 2021. I traded for it at a $1,200 value. When I went to the Atlanta show, there one had just sold, because remember, this is Soto got super hot over that winter. One sold just prior to the Atlanta show for $2,500, which was an insane comp for this card. I saw that number and I was like, whoa, this is out of control. While I was at the Atlanta show, day one, I put it in the case, but no one really asked about it. Day two, it was kind of one of those things when I thought about it, and it's like, just take your own advice, dummy. And I said, this card's gotten a little out of control. Just sell it. You can always buy it back. Like this, if you could get even close to this number, you're into it for $1,200. Once again, don't get cute here. Just take it and move. And I'd already been having a pretty good Atlanta show. I sold a lot of stuff at Atlanta. That's where I, snuck a couple cards into Steve's case, kind of, I don't want to say split a table, but, shared a table, like 70-30 to table. I was the 30%, maybe even 20% of that. So I walked it around and one of the dealers said, the best I could do is 2K. I said, all right, let me think about it. Let me think about it a little bit. And he said, that's fine. No problem. He said, just come back and we'll do it. So I thought about it. And once again, I walked around to a few other places. I was hoping to potentially trade it for something else that I wanted at the $2,500 value and get a little bit more value out of it. And then I just ended up saying, you know what, once again, stop getting cute here. You're into the card for $1,200. Someone's offering you $2,000 cash. Don't get stupid here. So I accepted that deal for the 2K cash. Later that year, I actually picked this card back up. It's not a 10-10, it's just a 10. I'm into that one for $1,200. They currently go for about $800, $850. I traded heavy for that card. There was no cash involved in that deal. And one of the cards that I moved off of it was actually the Bryce Harper first Bowman auto. And that's come down a ton. Obviously, there's a BGS 9510. I traded that to one of my friends, Steven, as kind of the centerpiece of the deal on this card when I traded for it. Now, that card is obviously came down way more due to the injury, and he actually moved off of it shortly after I traded it. So even though that card's down $400 since I reacquired it in a slightly different grade, I still feel pretty good about that because of what I moved off of it. Now, I was into the Harper for like $800 or $900 and traded a few other things along with it. But the Harper has obviously come down way more since he blew out his elbow. And I do, once again, I own this card again. And I'm actually probably into it for essentially free because I got it at $1,200 trade. I traded for it at $1,200, sold it for $2K, traded back into it with stuff valued at around $1,200, but I took an $800 profit on the first one. So I feel pretty good about the way that all worked out in the long run. So Soto is number 2. Number 3, and this is the biggest one. I don't think this is the one anyone would have gotten because it wasn't like super, I didn't talk about it a ton. I went to open the box. This is the story time on this one. I went to open the box of 90MU on the channel. Open the box, D&D packs. It was on a live stream. I was, one of the crazier moments on the channel. 3 different Wolverines in this set. Oh no. Disaster. I got. So I'm live. That box break doesn't go well. I said, all right, I want to open something, all this hype around the live stream. So I grabbed a box of X-Men 92 Jim Lee off the shelf. I had like 4 or 5, 3 of them. I don't remember. I said, okay, we'll rip one of these. Cool. I rip it. I get a really nice looking Wolverine hologram out of it. Send it in the PSA. and it came back at 10. Anyone that's ever messed around with these 90 Marvel cards, the holograms are insanely condition sensitive. I posted this back in April, almost May. At the time, it was Pop 4. I'm not sure if it's still Pop 4 or not. I was into this card for the price of the box, $80. I think this cost $30 to grade at the time. I honestly do not remember. But it wasn't super crazy expensive, or I wouldn't have sent it. Because I actually thought it was going to 9. I just assumed a hologram. These things are ridiculously hard to grade. Came back at 10. I sold this shortly after for 2K cash. Or no, it wasn't 2K cash. 2K goods and services in an IG deal this card sold for. So I probably made, let's call it $1,800 profit on this one transaction on this card. Stunning looking card, obviously. I mean, just great looking card. Ridiculously tough grades. And this was kind of after Marvel had, really tailed off. I sold that card in May. The negative downtrend in Marvel had been happening since March and all of April. And I sold this thing in May in a private deal for 2K. And that was by far and away my best profit in a single transaction on the year. But it was just crazy that the only reason this card even got opened was because of the D&D box. Because of the box that had the D&D cards in it, this got opened up. So, wild times. Crazy how stuff works out. Sometimes things work out in the better, sometimes they don't. But this one rolled in my favor. I guess the rip gods were in my favor when I got the Jinxed box with the D&D packs in it. So, sometimes a loss, as we talk about, sometimes something that looks like a loss potentially turns into a win. So that's all I have for you guys and girls. Those are my 3 probably best plays of the year, or best moves of the year, whatever you want to call it. A little bit of everything. We got some quick flips with the Jose Ramirez. We got a little cash trade stuff with the Juan Soto, and then raw to grade with the Wolverine. I think this is my favorite one, not necessarily because of the dollar amount, but because of the story behind it. So once again, that's all we got. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.